how to change your life in 6 months. As someone in the past who I felt that I was living the same 6 months over and over and over, I plan to show you by the end of this video to help change your life within the 6 months so you don't have to live the same 6 months over and over and over. And first, I commend you for clicking on this video to be able to watch it, because it means you want to make a change and you want to make a difference within your life, which is the first step to making that change. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will have a plan how to make change within your life and make it happen in 6 months. With that being said, my name is Chris Richardson. I'm a coach here at Life on Your Terms, and I make these videos to help pass on my knowledge, pass on my experience, so you can move through things quicker than I ever did. With that being said, we're going to talk about identify, visualize, strategize, and execute, our 4-step framework here at Life on Your Terms. And you're going to want to stay around to the end because it all builds on top of each other. So with that being said, the first step is to identify your 3 biggest problems in your life right now that you want to change. And maybe you have one glaring problem, and that's the only one you focus on. Maybe you're 200 pounds overweight. Great, that's your problem that you're gonna change within the next 6 months. Maybe you absolutely hate your job and it controls your life. That's the problem you're gonna change. Or maybe you have 3 medium-sized problems that you can make meaningful change within. And it's important to have hard conversations with yourself, because if you're clicking on this video, I wonder if you've been maybe being a little bit dismissive of your problems. I have a client who he's a great client, but he loves to talk about things that are easy. He kind of tiptoes around the big problem that's in the center. And I see it, he sees it, and I bring it up to him and he's like, shit, you're right, Chris. And we talk about that and then we make meaningful change within that. So you need to have the same meaningful conversations with yourself. What are problems that, well, you're probably avoiding? For the last 2 years, you felt overweight, but you've never really attacked it. Or for the last 10 years, you've hated what you do and you gave up on your dreams from when you were in your 20s. Well, maybe those are the problems that you need to attack. And you just want to look at, what are you avoiding? And if you can't figure out what you're avoiding, I'd encourage you to take the balance wheel in the description below at the end of the video, because it's going to highlight your professional, your relationships, your health, and your resources, and that can show you subcategories that you are avoiding. So my examples, if I was to sit down and do this activity, okay, how am I going to change my life in 6 months? Well, my life is pretty good right now, and I'm extremely grateful for that. But if I were to look at things that I want to drive towards and I want to improve, the first one would be my professional life. I want to improve and make this my full-time job, coaching. On top of that, the second piece would be to drive towards physical health. And not because there's any problem, it's just that I know myself, and when I'm driving and killing it physically, it tends to go over to professionally, and that's my first goal. And the third goal is my partner relationship. Again, not because that's bad, but we're about to move in with each other, and there's a lot that goes with moving in. So putting that as an emphasis of change in my next 6 months would be the most important 3 categories for me. So I encourage you to take that balance wheel, because that can highlight the categories for you and find your 1 to 3 problems that you want to change. The second piece is the fix. The fix to the problem. And this is where you're gonna visualize what is possible with these 3 problems. So maybe you're 200 pounds overweight. What's possible? Is it possible to lose the 200 pounds within 2 years? I think so. What do you think? You know what I mean? So you have to ask yourself, or if you hate this job, what is possible with those jobs? So that's what you're gonna do, is you're gonna look at what does amazing look like with your 1 to 3 problems that you've written out, because from there, you're gonna start to build a strategy around that in the next step. But before we get there, truly ask yourself, what is possible in these areas? Because I'd imagine if you work on these 1 to 3 problems within these 6 months and really dedicate and make that your purpose these next 6 months, I'd imagine you'd be quite surprised on the outcomes you get. And that's the point of visualization, is to really go to the stars and really think about what is possible and just what do you need to do to get there. That brings us to our third piece, is what actions need to be taken to get there. So I just asked you the question, what do you need to get there? Because you're here and you want to make that change, which is great. It's going to be actions, inputs, and habits that are going to take you from here to here. So you got this visualization. It's a great place where you want to go. Now, visualization isn't your goal. The actions and the habits are your goal, because those are the only things that you can control. So if you want to lose 200 pounds, that's going to be your visualization state. But to get there, you've got to do all these actions and habits to get there, which would mean going to the gym, eating on a diet, Things like that are going to be your actions, your inputs that you can control every day. So if it's for a job, it's going to be researching new jobs. It's going to be seeing, can you fix the problem with your job right now? Maybe it's getting to a certain income goal. That's going to be spending your money a little bit differently, making more money. How can you do that? You're going to look at what habits and inputs do you need and what action needs to be taken to get to that visualization state. Now, after you identify that, you're going to ask yourself, how are you going to carry it out and make it happen? And don't think of this necessarily in execution, because that's going to be our next stage, but you're going to think about what systems are in place to make sure to be accountable. So for me, a system that I use the sticky note system. These are all the actions that I'm going to take on a daily basis. They're going to change every day. Some will be the same, but a lot of them are different, and there's just going to be different things I need to do to move my professional change forward. Now, I have other reminders like the work is the goal, sticky note, and that saying is from Alex Hormozy, and I love that saying, and it speaks to me every day on that sticky note. So what systems are you gonna have in place to make sure those things happen? Are you gonna set your gym clothes out early in the morning? Are you gonna send in 5 applications every day? Are you gonna make meaningful connections to get new jobs? Ask yourself, what do you need and what systems do you need to have in place to make it happen? The fourth and final piece is asking yourself, how are you gonna execute? This is the most important piece. The 3 pieces before this are important. They take action to do, but the 4th piece is gonna be the one that makes it happen or it doesn't make it happen. Because a lot of us get excited with this change for a day, 2 days, 3 days, but after 2 weeks, we're like, I don't wanna do this anymore. I don't wanna lose the 200 pounds anymore because it's hard to go to the gym. It's hard to be on a diet. I don't want to change jobs or fix my problems at my job because it's hard to do those things. But the beginning of this activity, you set out, those are the problems that you want to make with the changes in the next 6 months. So you're going to have to ask yourself, what barriers are going to stand in your way and how are you going to overcome those barriers? With losing 200 pounds, it's going to be the donuts. It's going to be not wanting to go to the gym. It's going to be not wanting to put in the work. So how are you going to get over those barriers? With getting a new job or fixing the problems at your job, it's going to be dealing with your coworkers, dealing with your boss, sending in those applications, making connections that 99% of the time won't mean anything. But you know that this is what you want to do because in the first step, you identify these things as the things that you want to keep doing. So you have to ask yourself the question, after the barriers that are going to stand in your way and how you're going to solve them, how are you going to make sure that you're going to keep going? How are you going to make sure that you have the discipline and the execution to make sure that you make it happen? And I get super passionate about this stuff because this step is the most important. You could honestly forget most of the other steps, and if you just execute, you're not going to get there near as quick because you don't have a goal and you don't know what you're working towards, but you have action, and that's the biggest base for change is action. So you have to take action to make change. And with that being said, go take the action, take the balance wheel in the description below, because that is where you're going to start. That is where you're going to figure out the problems and what things are going to be highlighted to you that you may be avoiding. And if you like this video, like and subscribe so I know to make more.